back on the first floor, this section is about 20 feet wide. This is the upright portion of the T in plan. In the basement, the beam here is not mid-span. So the beam in the basement for this area is underneath that partition wall. Although it is, I'm going to consider it a load-bearing wall, even though there's not a plate at the bottom. The studs are attached to the subfloor, and you can see that at the top, the top plate is, where am I here? The top plate is, I'm lost here with the zoom feature. There it is. There's a joint in the top plate, and it's a single top plate. Will it suffice as a load bearing? Yes, it will. It will need to be beefed up a little bit, especially in the area of this opening, but that's not too difficult to accomplish. And again, there's a beam directly underneath it, and that's good. You notice too that the bridging here for the joists, there it is there, is not mid-span. And so that's about a third of the, well, maybe about 40% of the span from one side. Then there's the bridging, then there's the wall that is going to be a load-bearing wall, and then there you go all the way to the other exterior wall. So that bridging is in decent shape. It looks like it was original, it looks like it was done well, and the same is true in the dining room. Now here this bridging is mid-span. The distance from the front to the back is about 16 feet. And that floor above, on the second floor, that floor is pretty level. There might be a little dip in the middle, but I plan to do some reinforcing of the bridging in this room. I like the high ceiling in this room, so I don't want to lower it by putting in a beam, and I don't want to go to the expense of cutting the joists and hanging them from a beam, because then of course I have to put in a post at each end. And while I could use the chimney as such, that's more expense than I need to do. The room above will be a bedroom, and as I say, the house has been up for 132 years. I will reinforce the bridging, and it should be fine for both live and dead load. An interesting thing in the ceiling here is a thimble. My guess is that even though this chimney goes up to the second floor, the bedroom, and there's a vent in the chimney stack, maybe that wasn't enough warmth for upstairs, so they put this here. This could have been done later too. I'm not sure that it's original, but it's very likely, as we can see the plaster, the lath shadows on the joists, and we can see some plaster shadowing on the short cross joist. So that's the dining room, and plan to keep it as such. Except a possible exception is the door. The door, the dining room, this is original, and again you can see the wider studs here, 3x4 instead of 2x4. I will probably move the door in order to give me more counter space in the kitchen. The kitchen had a little trouble. There was a leak at some point in the past from the roof, and it came down and it affected the floor here in the kitchen. So there's a cutout here in the floor that was replaced, and there's a temporary wall in the basement. I don't know that the joists are that bad, but they will get sistered, and then I won't have to worry about that. The kitchen is probably the most, well, kitchen and the room upstairs are the most mutilated. There's holes in the floor. Someone had attempted to put in a bathroom down here, running PVC pipes, but there was a cast iron waistline, so there may have been a bathroom put here when plumbing was installed. But more recently, in the last 10 years, somebody tried to put a bathroom in here. That was where a medicine cabinet was going to go. Unfortunately, they eliminated the middle portion of the diagonal stiffener, which is a problem. So I have to be sure to when this wall gets done. Whether it's going to get a window or not, I'm not yet sure. But in any event, the reinforcement has to be done in order to maintain the shear strength of this corner of the kitchen. Again, a powder room is going to go in this space here. So I haven't quite figured out the final configuration of the kitchen, but it may be big enough that I can do an island somewhere in here. The kitchen will have a sort of like an L shape to it. I'm going to, as I say, rebuild this rear wall and put more windows in, and because I'd like to be able to see through the porch and out to the backyard. So one of the goals in the kitchen and bathrooms is to make sure that there is no plumbing on an exterior wall. The house did not have insulation originally, as far as I can tell, and of course I will need to insulate all of the exterior walls, so that'll be a big project. But I want to be able to insulate it well enough that the air to water heat pump system will be sufficient. So I've got to put more insulation in than would typically be the case. So that's it for the kitchen. Now we're going to go up to the second floor.